Hello and welcome to Geekverse Side Quest, your new stop for all video game reviews, news, and all that good stuff. I am your host, Dylan Muss, and today I'm joined by Dante once again. Welcome back to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. Quick turnaround this time. We just got to talk about all that Game of the Year stuff, and now I get to talk about one of the first big releases of the year. So I'm jazzed. The video games don't stop coming.
Last time it took us a full year in between episodes, but yeah, now you're back a month later, so that's pretty exciting. But yes, Geekverse Side Quest, we've set this up. This is going to be our weekly video game news, reviews, retros, rankings, all that good stuff. Just video game focused podcast every week. It's going to come up like Monday or Tuesday morning. I'm going to try and keep it consistent. I think the next few weeks will be Tuesday, but yeah, I'm pretty excited to be doing this. I love video games, and I know you do too. And we're always playing a ton of new ones, so it's exciting to have the opportunity to talk about that stuff more often.
Absolutely.
So let's get some stuff out of the way because there's a lot to talk about today. I guess a quick run of show. We're going to talk about Pokemon Legends Arceus or Arceus, whatever you want to call it. That is our main topic for the day. Me and Dante are going to talk about that. And then I also did a little offshoot podcast with Jessica, her thoughts on the game. So I'm going to patch that in afterwards. And then we're going to talk about Ghostwire Tokyo, which had a pretty big showcase last week. And then Mina The Hollower, the latest game from the Shovel Knight developers. And then we'll just talk about some other games we've been playing. So that's what to expect in this episode. But I think in general, that's kind of what you can expect is big reviews. I mean, it could also be just all the random indie games I play, the ones that I'm really into, reviews for that stuff as well. But the next few weeks, we have a lot of big like AAA games, news topics. So I don't know, just things that are going on or new trailers. And then retrospectives when, maybe the news is a bit quieter. And, I love my rankings and my tier lists. And, here I haven't talked to Dante about this, but I really want to do an arcane ranking, just like ranking the games and levels and characters and stuff like that. So maybe we can do that one in the future.
I got to play Might and Magic then.
I know. I got to go back and play that one. That's the one I haven't played either. So things like that. And yeah, it's very exciting. And so, yeah, this week, I mentioned what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to do Sifu review. Me and Kirkland are going to review Sifu. So if anyone out there, if you're playing the game, and you have any thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to discuss on that, send that our way, and I will include that in the next episode. And then, it might not always be like this, but I can give you the run-in show for the next few weeks because things are so crazy. So after that, it's going to be Horizon Forbidden West review. The week after that, Elden Ring review. The week after that, Triangle Strategy review. So it's going to be a lot. And then March, there's even more Triangle Strategy is in March, but there's other big stuff in March. So
Q1's a mess.
Shit. There's a lot of
Q1's a mess.
It is the perfect time to start this show because we are just going to be loaded up with content the next few weeks.
For sure.
Everyone make sure to follow, Discord on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. Join our Discord. The Discord's really fun. We just, people are posting whatever news stuff's coming up and then we talk about it in real time. So that's a good place. There's a Pokemon channel for the Pokemon fans in there. You just can talk about Pokemon all the time. You got some fanboys in there with you. Nice. Check out a Patreon for episodes early and ad-free. And then I also wanted to shout out Backloggd. This is a website that I got you on, Dante. I don't know if you've used it since we talked about it.
Yeah, I need to use it more. I got really obsessive about it like the first day and then totally forgot. So I need to jump back on. I do love a list.
Yeah, so Backloggd is, I think Letterboxd is the one for movies where you just pretty much like add whatever movies you've watched and then you can do rankings and stuff like that. It's Backloggd without the E. After G, at the end of the word. So just Backloggd without the E. It's pretty much the same thing for video games. So if anyone wants to follow me on there, I've been using that. My tag on there is Rapatika. And yeah, I mean, you can see what the games I'm kind of currently playing through. You can see the things that are on my wish list. So maybe some things to expect on the show. Then I also have some lists on there. I have like my top 25 games of all time. If you are curious what my ranking would be, I have a list. I have like an Excel sheet that goes up to like 120 of my top games of all time. I'm such a nerd for that stuff, but just on Backloggd, I put a top 25. I know you're a nerd for a list as well. Do you have like a top?
I literally do. Yeah, there's a top 100 somewhere. It goes to 100. Oh. It goes to 100 for sure. I didn't go past that.
We got to do that as like a stretch goal. Like, if someone like, get some donations going, get like a 6-hour long stream going where we go through our list. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, I'd gain some credibility with your listeners probably after today because I might lose some.
Well, we'll see about that. And what else? Oh yeah, shout out to Amanda for making the music. Dante, you didn't get to hear it, but if you listen to the episode afterward, it's really good. And She made it like super quick. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this new podcast. Do you want to make some music? And she just like, in a few days nailed it. So shouts to her for the music. And then also Out of Mana is coming back along with me coming back to do this show weekly. Out of Mana is coming back. Dante, you appeared on the 3rd or 4th episode, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I did a 7 episode streak of that like a year and a half ago. It's kind of been dormant, but it's coming back. Me and Taylor are going to do that. So
Very cool.
expect that as well. And then I think the last thing to shout out at the top here is with this new Geekverse initiative for more gaming content, we also have a new feed up. So on the main Geekverse feed is everything, all the reviews, news, just everything. And it's a lot. Like, for example, this month, I think we have like 25 casts coming out or something. Like, we do a lot. So if you're just interested in the gaming stuff, you can subscribe to that feed and you will just get like the weekly gaming stuff and reviews and things like that. So and then also, what do you want to shout out, Dante? You got your Twitch, your Twitter. What else, anything else you want to shout out?
That's about it, honestly. Yeah. So Twitter is Den Acolyte. Like Den is in a house. Acolyte is like I don't know what an acolyte is even. So Den Acolyte.
Isn't it like a religious?
It's religious.
What is an
It's
acolyte?
religious. It's like somebody who is in the practice of I don't know, prayer.
A person assisting the celebrant in a religious service or procession. So
yeah. So my thought was I am doing exactly that, but in a den regularly. I am in prayer to video games and music and all of these other things. So I'm constantly in my den.
I like that.
And it's an anagram for my name.
And then also, apparently, acolyte can also be an assistant or a follower. So you could call your Twitter followers your acolytes, and it's like
there you go, done deal. It's literally just it's an acronym for my name. That was the thought there.
That's cool too.
Yeah, and then Twitch is at twitch.tv/AdventOblivion. I haven't been on there in a bit. Work's been absolutely nuts. But eventually I'd love to just pop on there and just do something every once in a while. Probably me and my girlfriend play a horror game or something like that. That's typically my bag when it comes to streaming. So catch me over there. I will you'll probably see me posted on Twitter first, but
cool.
It may come back.
Good. All right, that's all the shoutouts. Let's get into it. So we're talking about Pokemon Legends, Arceus. What do you prefer? What do you prefer to say with the hard?
I say Arceus, but I hear everybody else say Arceus, and I like it more. So I might just jump the bandwagon.
I think we'll use them interchangeably, so people don't get mad at us if we say the wrong one or the one that you don't say.
No. So I usually say Arceus, but
before we talk about that game itself, what is your brief history with Pokemon?
I love it. No, seriously, I do.
Maybe a little bit more.
I know. I'm kidding. No, I really enjoy Pokemon. I've been a Pokemon fan since the first Pokemon game. I've played every single mainline Pokemon game to completion, like every single one. So I have a long history with it. I've enjoyed the anime as a child, right? Like, I played a few of the the side games. So I've played like most of the Colosseums up to GameCube. I played the first Pokemon Ranger, right? For the DS. Is that for the DS?
What is Pokemon Ranger? I've never heard
of it. It was like a dungeon crawler. Hold on.
Oh, like what there was like one on the Switch recently, like a remake, I think.
Yeah.
Like one of those.
Yeah, for the original Dungeon? DS. Yeah. No, Mystery Dungeon's something else entirely as well.
Okay.
Pokemon Ranger was like this weird that you had like your team would follow you and you would like have like 8 dudes following you, which was pretty cool. But it was like a dungeon crawler, if I remember correctly. It's been a long time. That one was definitely I haven't played it in a very, very, very long time, so it's a bit of a blur, but I remember it being just like a sprite-based RPG. But definitely the mechanics of it were super different than traditional Pokemon at the time.
Right. So you're a pretty diehard Pokemon fan.
I like Pokemon. I like Pokemon a lot. Yeah, I've got there's tons of Pokemon stuff around me. Hold on.
What do we got?
There he is.
There he is. Growlithe?
Little my little boy. I'm a big fan of Growlithe. That's definitely my best dude. There's some Eevee stuff surrounding the house. There's stickers on the fridge. There's Pokemon stuff everywhere.
Is there a Pokemon that's just like a drum kit? Because I feel like there's so many weird Pokemon designs nowadays. Like,
if there could be garbage,
they should do an instrument. I love the garbage one. I use that guy in Shield. He's great. But I wonder, do they have any instrument ones? Because they totally should if they haven't done that yet.
I'm like, can't think of any. Like,
I feel like there's probably a piano one, maybe.
I don't think there's a piano one either. That's the thing. Like, and the funny thing is, like, all of the Pokemon who are like inanimate objects typically are like ghost type, and they're like possessing those items, like the sword, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of any. That's a missed op. Hopefully for the next one for sure. They gotta
save some ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, getting into Arceus then. So 3 questions for you right off the bat. Like, how much have you played this game? Who was your starter? And then what are you thinking so far?
Yeah, so I've played about 15 hours, I'd say. So a pretty hefty chunk for a Pokemon game. This is typically no longer than like 20, 30 hours to begin with. So pretty good chunk. I started off with Rowlet. He's definitely best boy.
That's who Jessica picked as well. I would have picked Cyndaquil personally, but I think it's a good pick. I
just love that little owl boy. And Decidueye is so cool, especially this time around. Decidueye is very cool. Because he has a regional variant, which is pretty neat. And then how do I feel about it? Very mixed. Very, very mixed, I would say. Started off extremely strong and liked a lot of what it was doing, and then as I played, I soured on it quite a bit. So happy to dig into details here, but I'll let you steer me.
Yeah. So to make it clear for the listeners, I have not played this game. I'm just kind of I'm the pitcher here today, just throwing the baseball over. I don't know where we want to start. I guess I want to know a little bit more about the open world part of it, how you feel about that. And one question that I have is just like, because I've heard that the open world is kind of sectioned off and stuff like that. But here's my main one question: can you get lost in this game? Just physically on the map, can you ever just be like those Breath of the Wild moments where you're just like, man, I am so far from anywhere familiar. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Not really. There's a map. And the map is like pretty clear about like telling you where you need to go, and then also there's a fast travel that you get.
Yeah,
it's funny, you get the fast travel and then they unlock the fast travel later, even though you've had it the entire time, which is very weird. So they make this big deal about, you can fast travel now. I was like, I've been doing this for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you can fast travel back to like any of the camps on the map. So it definitely doesn't feel like you can get lost. I didn't feel like I could get lost. There were definitely periods where I was like, man, I'm definitely not supposed to be over here.
Yeah,
like these Pokemon are like 20 levels higher than me or 15 levels higher than me. Like if you can consider that getting lost, sort of. But overall, I'd say no. They point you in a direction for sure.
And do you like the kind of fully open world Pokemon? I know Sword and Shield kind of experimented with some of that, but at least from what I've played of that game, it's quite a bit smaller. Like these open areas are not too big.
Yeah, so the open world in or what do they call it in Sword and Shield? The something zones.
Wild areas.
Right? The wild areas. Yeah. So the wild areas, I actually enjoyed that concept a lot. It was just like a nice thing to do on the side. Whereas this is kind of the meat and potatoes of this game. I'd say I do like the direction towards a more open world for Pokemon. I think Arceus takes a lot of the right steps and like a lot of steps in the right direction. Stuff that I've been asking for out of Pokemon for a really long time. I think they actually are starting to half step towards, and I think maybe that's honestly my biggest issue with the game altogether. Is like it seems like all of the new ideas are good ideas. They just aren't fully committing to any of them. So the open world is there's 5 zones, I believe. I'm at the end of the second zone. So each of them kind of like represent a different biome. You have like a volcano, you have like your plains, you have like a swampland. I'm in kind of like the swampland area right now. And you'll see different Pokemon in those areas, obviously, as well as different things to like harvest in your environment. So like that's kind of a big part of this game is crafting. So you'll like the way you interact with everything though is where it kind of starts to lose me and feels ridiculous. And that's why I'm like sort of dancing around it. But all of the things that you interact with in the world, it's either by throwing a Pokeball at it or throwing your Pokemon that's in a Pokeball at it.
Right.
So it feels kind of like Pokemon first-person shooter a lot, where you're constantly like aiming your Pokeball at stuff, and then you press X to switch between throwing a Pokeball or an item or throwing an actual Pokemon, which I screw up all the time and I accidentally just waste Pokeballs, or I throw Rowlet at a level 40 Pokemon that I was just trying to like sneaky catch, and I'm like, damn it, I'm in this battle
And,
now.
and notoriously, like their options sections are savage in these games. Like they don't let you customize the experience at all.
No, not at all. So when you're in this world, like it's a pretty, it feels to me like a pretty big barren wasteland of like green or brown or red, depending on the biome you're in, and then having a lot of Pokemon, which are definitely the coolest part, right? Like you get to see some like, there's your regular Pokemon that are just like wandering around the world, and then you have these big like alpha Pokemon, which are kind of like these world bosses that are scattered around throughout, and you know that they're an alpha Pokemon because they're like 2 to 3 times the size of the original Pokemon, and their eyes are just red. They're like glowing red, like they look like brake lights. To me, they're a little out of, it's a little out of place. It's a little out of place. But so
like,
you know,
what's the easiest way we can make something, you know, distinctly different? And it's like, let's just add 2 monochrome colors.
Yeah, how do you know that something's big and bad? It's either it has 2 big red eyes, or it has a goatee. That's the only way you know if something's
I like that. That's cool.
So it, when you're in these open worlds, I oftentimes felt like there's not a whole lot to do outside of the quests, which is kind of cool that there's like traditional quests in this game. It's not like just moving from one zone to another like you would in a Pokemon game to get to the next gym. There's no gyms in this game at all.
Right.
So what you're kind of doing is you're getting quests from different villagers, and you're essentially going out and doing those kind of like fetch quests. So it'll be like, I need this much of this rock, or I need you to craft me this, or I want you to catch a Pokemon that is bigger than my Pokemon, which is, I don't know if you've seen people roasting that particular quest on Twitter, but it's about trying to catch a Weasel that's bigger than yours. I've caught like 30 Weasel, and I'm never going to finish that quest now because I just can't. You have to get a
all look
Weasel
the same size, like in the open world. Is that it?
No, you'll see bigger ones occasionally, but like this is like way bigger. They don't really show you. They don't really show you that he's going to be like huge until you catch him.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of like kind of finishing up these little fetch quests in this pretty barren open world. And
is to cut in there, like, is there dungeons or buildings that you can go inside, like from these open worlds?
Nothing. No,
that's too bad. That's really
that was
cool. Like, oh, I come across this like haunted mansion or something, and then that would be, you know, this ghost Pokemon area or something like that.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Like, so I don't know if I've coming into this game. So this is the weird part, is like I feel like I'm coming into it very cynically because I see so much positivity around this game, like surrounding the internet, and then I kept playing and playing and playing, and just every single time I was just like, I don't think I'm having fun. Am I not having fun? And it started off so strong because I was like, oh my gosh, you get to, like, when you're in the main area, you can throw out all your Pokemon, and your whole team is just out there, and they're in their different sizes, and that's like a really cool moment to just like be around your entire Pokemon team. The story starts off very strangely, and that had me kind of engaged as well. You are flung through time. You start off in present day, and then you go backward, like you go back in the Sinnoh region to when it was called the Hisui region, which is kind of gives off this like sort of feudal Japan vibe without the war. And that setting is also excellent, and I love it. So like strong start from a few different perspectives, and then also when you just go into the initial world, you're like, all right, you realize that like everyone who is dealing with Pokemon right now in this time period are scared of them. So you're kind of like this 12-year-old badass who's come to like tame all of the beasts of the region, which is kind of neat. And everybody just looks at you like you're the coolest person on the planet, which is like, oh yeah, this is cool. I'm the hero. But I also realized, like, in the 15 hours, no one talked about getting me back home. Like, maybe I should want to go back to my original time a little bit. Like, that should be a little bit of my my reason for proceeding through the game. And it just kind of, the second they fling you through time, it's like, oh, nope, you're here now. This is where you live.
Yeah, that's interesting, because Jessica asked in the Discord, like, where do you think this fits into the timeline? And I was like, well, I thought this was just like a prequel, like, but it sounds like it's kind of like an Assassin's Creed prequel. It's like you are a character in present day, but then you go back. So is there an easy way to answer that question, or it sounds like you don't really have the answer to that yet?
Yeah, I'd say I'd have to beat it before I got like a
Yeah.
firm answer, because they kind of dropped that story point entirely. And I don't know if that's just because maybe I spent too much time in the areas I've been in, and I'm just kind of like dinking around doing what there is to do in the game instead of actually like following the story, or if that is something that they just kind of like, we're not going to get to this again until the end of the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, let me back up a little bit. Like I feel like I've done a poor job so far of explaining like actually the ins and outs of what makes this game different from a traditional Pokemon game.
Sure.
So you get flung through time, and you are in feudal Japan, and you are tasked with creating the first Pokedex. And the way that you go about that is by just straight up catching Pokemon. But catching Pokemon in this game works very differently than any other Pokemon game. And I think this is one of those things that started to lose me a little bit. You don't have to do much combat in this game, if you choose not to. And it seems oftentimes feels like that is the right way to do things. You can sneak and you can dodge roll, and you have all of these kind of like interesting movement mechanics, and that kind of leads you towards throwing. Like, you can just throw Pokeballs at anything. Like, you don't have to get into battles with them. You don't have to weaken them necessarily, even though it does help. You don't have to add status effects to catch harder Pokemon necessarily. And backstabs are like critical catches. So if you hit somebody from behind, you have a higher chance of catching them. So it just turned into something completely different for me. I like wandered out and I was like, man, I can't wait to fight all these Pokemon, blah, 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 which I still think is fun, by the way. I think they've done some really great quality of life stuff when you're actually playing proper Pokemon in that game.
Yeah.
But most of the time what you're doing is just kind of like sneaking through grass and chucking Pokeballs at Pokemon's butts. That's kind of what like it felt like, and to the point that like you can catch like 5 Pokemon in the course of like a second. Like, you can just like rapid fire Pokeballs out.
It sounds like there's not really much of a balance there in terms of like the variety of gameplay. And does it look different? Like, if you're trying to catch I don't know, like let's say some water Pokemon versus like a flying one, does that feel like a different experience, or is it just like, okay, the environment's a bit different, but it's like still that exact same gameplay loop?
For the most part. So there are different Pokeballs that make catching like something that's flying a little easier. Maybe there's like something called Sky Balls, and then there's Heavy Balls, and then there's your regular Pokeballs and Great Balls and Ultra Balls. But so the regular balls have their own kind of like throw arc. Heavy Balls drop really easily. They fall quite quickly, but so you can't get serious range on them. But at the end of the day, like, it's still just throwing another Pokeball at a Pokemon. You know what I mean? So it's just you get a higher rate or higher capture rate out of those. You just have to get closer to them. Sky Balls fly much farther, so they're easy to hit flying Pokemon. But even then, most of the time I'm fine with a regular Pokeball. It's just I kind of,
and then the gameplay of actually trying to sneak up behind them and stuff like that kind of remains the same.
Yeah, so you have one of 2 options when you encounter a Pokemon. You either throw the Pokeball at it and try and catch it, or you throw one of your Pokemon at it and you can go into combat with it. Combat feels great. You can move around the battlefield, which is pretty cool. Like, it starts combat in the middle of the field, which is neat. So there's no like and then moving into a like star wipe and then moving into a fight. It is just kind of like jumps you right into the fight, and then your character can actually like move around with the analog stick while you're selecting attacks and stuff like that, so you can get different advantages on the fight. I think that part's really cool. I really like that they're just straight up with you about whether or not stuff is effective or super effective. You don't have to remember that crazy chart that has just become kind of complicated over the years. I have a hard time remembering what's weak to what these days.
Well,
I've been playing my whole life.
Types like what's effective against a fairy type? I have no clue, man. Like, there's no intuitive answer.
Dragon, I think it's dragon, but like that's exactly it. Like, it's just hard to remember, especially since they've added types over the years. So they pretty much just tell you right off the bat like what your Pokemon is weak to, or what the opposing Pokemon is weak to. So that quality of life bit I enjoy a lot. They actually tell you turn order now, which is really cool. And there's
that seems cool. Like, the speed stat is kind of new and improved. In a way.
So you have your Pokemon can upgrade their abilities to have a strong type or an agile type move, and agile type moves will be weaker and they'll come out faster. Strong type moves will add a like an extra turn after in your turn order for your opponent, but you'll do increased damage.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like that stuff I love. Like that's what I was saying. Like when I'm actually playing Pokemon properly, I was having a lot of fun. It was whenever I had to do anything that wasn't that, it started to lose me, and just to feel like this strange amalgamation of other Pokemon ideas over time or throughout time that they were kind of like putting all into one game and trying to figure out what'll stick. So like the throwing the Pokeball thing reminds me a lot of Pokemon Go. The like regular Pokemon like feels, or the regular Pokemon combat feels very much like a traditional Pokemon. And then there's like a little bit of like Pokemon Snap in the way that you're getting the filling out the Pokedex. You have to like you have to see the Pokemon do specific things. Like this Pokemon has to use like Thunder Shock 3 times, and then you'll get a little point towards increasing your Pokedex rank. And that's essentially how you like. That's the like sub in for gyms, right? Like instead of having gym badges, you'll rank up your Pokedex, and then you can like catch Pokemon up to level 40 or whatever.
Yeah.
So and then like but then the world reminds me a lot of Monster Hunter, which is something I also was excited about. Yeah, that's a good thing. I just wish there was a little bit more going on in those worlds or in those areas. So like you have camps stationed throughout each zone, and you can teleport to those camps, and that's kind of where you go and you like do crafting to make more Pokeballs, to make like super potions, to make like bait. For some Pokemon you want to throw out like food balls. I kept joking around with my girlfriend saying that I'm just throwing meatballs at all these Pokemon. So that feels, there's stuff like that just made me feel like I was doing something ridiculous a lot. So I was like, man, am I just cynical? Am I too old for this now? Did it happen? I do like the combat is seems more difficult, which is I think
I was gonna ask about that. Yeah, how's the difficulty?
Yeah. I think it's actually good. That's the like. There's a few things that I really do have to give this game credit on. The difficulty is great. I do think the ideas that they're posing in this are great ideas. I just think they need to like finish them.
Yeah.
I think that's how I felt about most of the world too. It's just like, wow, these like cool. You're doing a big open world. It feels undone, honestly. Like,
yeah, I guess that's just kind of the Pokemon curse, is they go for quantity over quality. Like you're gonna get multiple new games every year, but they're gonna be just like little tiny step ups rather than just huge improvements. So
I think they're scared of their fan base a lot. I'm scared of their fan base. I'm part of the fan base, and I'm scared. Fair. Like I think they're worried. Like I know after that big national dex snafu with Sword and Shield, they're probably like really careful about how far in a direction they go.
I just really want them. I just really want to see a game like this with a 2 or 3 times longer development time, and they won't do it because like these games sell no matter how good or bad they are, or people don't care if there's ridiculous pop-in or the graphics are horseshit. Like they're gonna buy them anyway. But I would love to see a Pokemon game, like a proper AAA Pokemon game. That where they took their time, and man, it would be so interesting to see like how they would execute an idea like this if they just gave themselves a lot more time rather than. I'm sure it's just like corporate, like really strict timelines. Like you have, I don't know, a year or 2 to make this game, and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna borrow a bunch of stuff from these other games, or we're only gonna iterate this thing once instead of like the 4 or 5 times passes we need to make it like some fully realized system.
Yeah, Nintendo's gonna have
then you're gonna get like, if you don't like this one, there's 2 other Pokemon games coming out this year, so play those instead.
Yeah, like Nintendo only has like 3, 4, 5 maybe marquee games come out a year, so I'm sure that when one of those is on the calendar, they're like, it has to hit. It has to hit. I hope I explained that well. I feel like I've just come out of this come out of this with like very mixed emotions, and like there's part of me that like when time slows for like the game release calendar a little bit, I would like to come back to it and maybe actually like put a nail in it, because like I said, I've beaten every mainline Pokemon game, and I think there was like some conversation about this actually being part of mainline, which is interesting. I'm not 100% sure. It's got a whole separate tagline, so I'm assuming maybe not. And it definitely didn't come in the form of 2 games, which is what I'm used to. Right?
That's true. That's true.
But it definitely has a lot of mainline mechanics as well, which makes me feel like it's not as much of a side thing as some of the other Pokemon like offshoots have been.
Yeah. One thing that seems great about this game, I've watched a good amount of streams, is like just the movement in terms of
Yeah.
being able to ride more Pokemon. Because obviously you can do that like surf, or you can like fast travel with a bird in some other games. And I've not played that many Pokemon games, so maybe
Right.
there's more of this. But most of the time in the games I've played, you're like cruising around on a bike, which is fun. But it's like, why couldn't that be a Growlithe or something else? Like that just would be so much more. That would just use like the systems, the sprites, like all that animation work you already have. Just reuse it in that way. That would build even more connection you have with these Pokemon and make you think twice about like, okay, what is going to be on my team? Like, do I want to keep a Pokemon that's maybe weaker but can help me travel around the world quicker? Like, and that seems great with like Pokemon that can help you climb up walls or fly around or swimming. So do you like that part of it? Does it feel good?
Yes and no. I feel like that is how I feel about this game. I like it and I don't like it. While I do like that they give you an opportunity to like just move through the field a little bit easier and quicker. I know the first Pokemon you get allows you to just like move through the area faster. The second one you get allows you to kind of like sniff out like hidden items. Like it can dig for hidden items. But it's not like you can choose whatever Pokemon you want to be that thing for you. They give you a specific Pokemon for each of those different mechanics. And while I do appreciate the like, hey, I want to move around this area a little bit quicker, it does turn into this weird thing where you're like just booking it through Pokemon who all start chasing you. So you just have this mob of dudes behind you when you're running. And then also it's funny. Awesome. It's just funny. It's just more funny than anything and a little stressful.
I guess that doesn't work for the combat necessarily. It's like, well, and then I'd fight these guys one at a time, or would you fight like, all of them?
You fight all of them.
Okay, that's cool then. I like that.
But that's the thing, you don't fight with like your whole team, you fight one Pokemon versus 6.
Yeah.
It's rough. It's really rough. It's just like you're destined to lose at that point as long as they're not all level 3 or something.
Okay.
So
that sounds like a good challenge. Like that could be a fun thing to do. Like normally, like because I've been playing I picked up Shield last year and I'm just very slowly playing through it. And I was like on the 4th gym and this fucking gym badge holder has got 2 Pokemon. I'm like, How are you supposed to be this guy who runs this gym and is the king of the region? You have 2 Pokemon in your team? That's bullshit. So that sounds cool that you can like go and purposely fight against like a whole squad of Pokemon. Like that's like a good challenge that I'm sure some people can like issue challenges at their friends. Like go in this area and fight 7 Pokemon at a time.
I guess that is a cool thing that you're not playing like lamest King of the Hill over and over again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's definitely always that dude who's just like, yeah, how the hell did you even get here?
Yeah.
Like, was there no one here when you got here and you just were like, I'm hungering down?
It's so silly.
But yeah, riding Pokemon, I just there's moments where you're like, I should definitely be able to get up this wall. It's like any open world though, where you're like, there's just a ledge and you're like, man, this is just like, I could climb over this in real life. Like you could for sure hop over this with like your reindeer. And then you just can't. So people are like have found like some workarounds where apparently like if you hold, bump my mic. if you can hold the Pokeball out like you're about to throw it, and then you can run up like straight 90-degree cliffs because there's like tons of workarounds. People are figuring out ways to break the game already. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff too. Yeah.
Here's another question from Fanboy Clay in the Discord. Do you think this will be a long-term game with multiple DLCs, or is this a test to become a new series that releases every few years? So I guess Pokemon Legends blank, Pokemon Legends blank, and they'll kind of keep this open world offshoot in adjacent with the main series and adjacent with the remakes and adjacent with these spin-offs. What do you see for this game in particular?
This I said this pretty quickly after I started playing it, and I think I feel that way. I feel like this is a real test case for future Pokemon. I think this is their beta, essentially, for what's to come for mainline Pokemon. And I hope it is. Like I said, I think there's some really good ideas here. I think they just have to dig through it and figure out like what worked and what didn't. I think if they incentivized you to like actually just like fight the Pokemon more, I would be more interested in that. Like RPG side of Pokemon is kind of lost here a little bit to me. They're like traditional JRPG. So if they like really lean into making it feel like a traditional Pokemon game while adding all of this like cool open world, like adding a real cool open world and not just an open world.
Yeah.
And then also just like, I don't know, adding all of these like regional Pokemon that are just like giving you the opportunity to see Pokemon through time is like such a cool idea. And there's like tons of great examples of that. Like there's a Scyther variant very early in the game that's called Cleaver. So instead of having scythes on its arms, it has axes, which is pretty neat.
You know what? So this is very weird anecdote, but I was at the grocery store. This was like the day or two after the game came out, and the guy at the checkout counter, me and my girlfriend were, getting our food, and I guess he could just tell that we look like gamers or something like this. Because he's like, "Hey, are you guys playing Pokemon Legends Arceus?" And I'm like, "No, but how is it?" And he's like, "Man, I got this Scyther," and he was like telling me all about the Scyther. I wonder if he was talking about the axe.
It was probably that one. So that's a boss fight that you have to do, which is also leading into like some just strange decisions. So you get to like you see this cool. He's glowing yellow, like he's this enraged version of this Scyther Pokemon named Cleaver, and you're like, "Fuck yeah, I get to fight this thing. This is sick. I want to catch him." You throw meatballs at it until its health bar goes down. It's the most anticlimactic thing I've ever done. Like I was so excited walking into the boss fight, and then I was just like, "Wow, you literally had me craft meatballs." And then throw meatballs.
Why do you need the meatball? Why do you need like multiple meatballs?
You have to craft its favorite food, and then you throw its favorite food at it, and that reduces its enragement, I guess. I know. Okay. I don't care what food it is. If somebody's throwing my favorite food at me, I'm still probably gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
is it in just a regular Pokeball too?
No, it's in a bag.
Or does it look like something? Does it look like food?
It looks like some of it looks like food, and then some of it is food in a bag. You specifically throw the food in the bag.
I feel like if I was the Scyther, I would be pretty annoyed. I'm like,
I get
it. Like, give me this food. That's cool. But if you're just piecemeal, you're just giving me like, it's like if you went to a restaurant, they bring out a chicken wing every 5 minutes. Like that would be the worst thing ever.
And
like,
they throw it. There's no servers. They throw it from the kitchen.
Right, and it's like sometimes in a ball that you have to rip open. Yeah,
exactly. It is.
But this Scyther, he's into it. So
I felt ridiculous. I felt ridiculous in that boss fight because you literally are just kind of like letting this thing. You can't get hit by it either. You aren't throwing your Pokemon out to defend yourself. You're just dodge rolling.
Yeah,
and throwing meatballs.
Yeah, that's no good.
It's weird. It's a weird game. It's a weird game. Like like I said, they threw all of the previous Pokemon ideas at a wall. And we're like, let's see what happens. It felt very similar to like, all right, I need to throw apples at this thing to make it do what I want, like Pokemon Snap.
Right, which also felt weird, like just pelting because apples, that would hurt some Pokemon at least. Yeah, it does feel weird.
And it's weird. There's no like I'm getting a little too into it, but the fact that you are in this historical part of the Pokemon universe and they're all scared of Pokemon, and their solution is to enslave the Pokemon because at this point they're scared of it. In the future, you know that those Pokemon are all like helping with all these tasks.
Yeah,
you're kind of creating that in this game.
Okay.
So it does feel like these Pokemon are just living their lives. They don't want to be bothered, and you're like, nah, you're gonna go. This Geodude's definitely gonna go till the fields. That's literally one of the quests. It's like go get a ground type Pokemon to help us do slave labor.
That's fucked up. I mean, that's like also in Snap, it's like this Pokemon's just enjoying itself, and then you just come in here and start harassing it. Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of fucked up violence going on in this game. It's like they cover it with cute Pokemon with bright pastel colors, so you don't think about it.
Yeah,
it's kind of messed up.
Yeah, Bidoofs everywhere will make you. Yeah, you won't feel as bad for it because the Bidoofs need to go. They need to go.
Yeah, they've been hyping up that like marketing campaign for the Bidoof a little too much.
Too many Bidoofs for me.
Yeah. Dante, any other thoughts that you wanted to get out there? I've asked all my questions about the game, but anything else you want to mention about this?
Yeah, so I'm not really. I feel like I could talk about it for a while, honestly.
We got Jessica here too talking about stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
It's all good.
I hear you. It would be maybe a little too. I don't know. I don't want to say hero roasted necessarily, but
I guess just closing out then. recommendation, would
Yeah.
you? I know obviously you feel like maybe you're a bit of an outlier, but and this
Yeah.
game, like I was shocked when I saw the reviews. Honestly, it's way higher than I was expecting.
Same.
But do you recommend this to? Obviously, it's difficult because you're a hardcore Pokemon fan, play like all the games pretty much, and here you are not enjoying it that much. So,
Well,
can you recommend it to people, or who would you recommend it to?
I actually think I could recommend this to a few different people. It was not for me. But I would say, like, if you have felt fatigued by old to traditional Pokemon and you still want some Pokemon, but you want to do something different, I think this is a great opportunity for that. If you really like Pokemon Go, I think this could be a really cool introduction into, like, this could be a good bridge to traditional Pokemon. If you're not a traditional Pokemon person, but you're a Pokemon Go person, this gives you that opportunity to like throw the ball to catch Pokemon. Like it's a fun mechanic. But then also having combat and just some extra layers around that, just to keep things interesting. I think Pokemon Go fans would like it a lot as well.
Nice.
Yeah, that's probably it though. If you're a big RPG fan, like I am, you're going to find it a little wanting. And also if you're a Monster Hunter fan, I think you're going to find it wanting, which is like, that's pretty separate, but there's just a lot of similarities that made it like difficult for me to, not put those together in my head a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts on this game. I'm still like early in Shield, so I think it'll be a while before I pick up another Pokemon game. But
I like Sword and Shield a lot. If it makes you feel any better, I think that's
fun.
one I can recommend.
I'm liking it.
Yeah.
It's janky and some things are very lazy, but it's still fun.
To be expected.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to throw to a break, and we come back. Okay, so if you're on YouTube, the cast with Jessica is going to be a separate thing, so you go listen to that. If you're listening to the podcast feed after this ad break, come back, and I'll be here with Jessica. We'll talk about that, and then we'll cut back to me and Dante. So that's how it's going to go, and yeah, let's shoot to a little break. And we are back. Dante, we're going to talk about a couple trailers, showcasing a trailer. How about we start with Ghostwire? Let's start with Ghostwire, because I know you're excited for this one.
I'm jazzed about both of these games, honestly.
Yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo is the latest game from Tango. What is it? Tango Gameworks is what they're called. Yeah. It's been a while since their last game, Evil Within 2. I think it was 2017 or 18.
That's
one of the two.
Hold on, I'll look it up.
I just feel like we've known about this. I guess I feel that way because we've known about Ghostwire for a long time. Or at least it feels like it, and then it kind of just, I don't know if it got delayed, but it just like didn't have a release date, didn't have a release date. Okay, 2017, yeah, so it has been a long time, 5 years.
Yeah.
But we finally got like a real big showcase here, and they're saying that it's coming out March 25th. This is also the weird case where Tango, part of Bethesda, has been bought by Xbox, Microsoft, but it's still kind of like the Deathloop thing where PlayStation still had the exclusive rights on this game for, I'm guessing, a year, could be more.
Right.
So this is coming to PC and PlayStation 5. So because it's not, I was really interested in it, but because it's not supporting PS4, I don't think I'll be picking this one up. But I'm gonna play this showcase here in the background while we chat about it. But yeah, they put out this 20-minute showcase, and the last like maybe half of it is kind of developers talking about it and not really showing new gameplay. So I mean, some people might be into that, some others might not, but I know you're excited about this game. Why are you excited for it?
The aesthetic is crazy. It's really wild. I'm a big fan of like the Japanese ghost story thing. So like I think that's just a really, really neat aesthetic to begin with. But then like the combat in it is weird. It's so weird looking. It looks like you're like it essentially looks like a first-person shooter, but you're using your hands, but you're like weaving different spells with your hands, and like just the you see it a little bit here on screen, but the animation for that stuff is just so neat. Like every once in a while, like pulling strings to create these,
that
like,
part
almost
looks like just Doctor Strange.
Strange. I was literally going to say that, like almost like Doctor Strange style movements with your hands to create this really wild combat that they're saying is has a lot of customization, which I think is going to be really neat. I'm
really excited for that. I just love the look, and the animations as you're talking about. They're showing a lot in here, the mocap that they did, and it definitely shows in game with your hand motion stuff, but also just the enemy attack animations, like the roundhouse kicks they do.
Yeah,
it looks great. Like that part they've really nailed. And watching this showcase, I don't know if I was surprised, but it definitely seemed a lot more action heavy than I thought it would be. I guess I
I
thought
had
maybe it'd be
no
more
idea what this game
psychological
was gonna
horror.
be.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely looking a lot more combat than I was expecting.
When I first was watching the trailer, I was a little confused as to like how you move through the world. It almost looked like a VR game to me.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
looked
I can
like you were
see
just
that.
kind of standing still and like you were moving your hands, and then they start to show a little bit of the movement, and you're just moving through the world. Your character's just fairly slow.
Yeah,
But I
that
think
I
that
wanted to talk about that, man. You move around this world so slow. You're just kind of walking
yeah,
around. Do you think this is an open world game, level based? I could not get a
I think
vibe from that from this showcase.
I think they said that in the showcase that it is going to be their first attempt at something open world and also
Okay.
like non-linear as well. So like you can kind of go about this in whatever route you want to,
Right.
which is pretty wild. That's that string move I
Yeah.
was
Oh, it
talking
looks
about
so
for
cool.
anybody who's watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely has just such a cool style. I'm sitting here watching the trailer again, and I'm just like, man,
I know it's
I'm
distracting
so
me.
jazzed
It's
now.
so
I think this looks
colorful
so
too.
cool. Yeah, like all these crazy neons, and like then you see the yokai who are just like pretty grotesque. Some of them are quirky and fun looking, and some of them are
Mhm.
like actually scary. But yeah, you move through this world so slow that I was like really betting for a second there that it was like not even it almost looked like a rail shooter or something.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing now that it's not. It just like is part of the aesthetic.
Well, I think I mean the slow movement with the combat obviously is very intentional, and I think maybe that'll make the encounters more intense as you're just trying. Like you can't really just run away, turn around, and attack. Like it seems like you're kind of always maybe facing your opponent as you're fighting them,
Yeah,
which is good. I think that can be a weird thing in first-person shooters where it's like if your movement is pretty intense and you don't know where you're going, it can be hard to follow it. But it seems like it's a good balance in this game.
yeah.
You
It
know,
by no means seems like a Twitch shooter or anything like
yeah,
that. It seems like it's going to be a little bit more methodical. The traversal seems wild. It seems very vertical in this
yeah,
too, which
yeah.
is like when I first saw it, I was like, man, the movement in this game looks like kind of non-existent. And then and then he starts zipping around to rooftops and like
But
doing
even
all this
that
types of
looks
like
like kind of it's not like Dishonored where you just quickly look up and like
anywhere.
grab onto a
Yeah,
ledge. Like it seems like it maybe even seems like too you have to like there's only specific spots you can use it on. They were saying there's like this flying ghost type ghost type guy that you maybe can just hook onto those. So I'm not
yeah,
sure
maybe.
exactly, but seems like a very intentionally designed open world traversal design at least.
I don't know if you're familiar with the blooper games, like Layers of Fear and the Medium, right? Like this has kind of it looks
Right.
like there's some of that going on too. Like you're walking down a hallway and like the hallway's changing as you're moving through the
Hmm.
hallway. I don't know if that's just like cool animation for animation's sake or for the
Yeah.
trailer, or if that's like something that you will experience often in the game. But that looks incredibly neat as well.
Hmm.
It's something they did in Evil Within also a little bit. Also, like
Yeah.
you would just kind of like look around and you're like, oh my god, things are changing around me.
Right.
Really neat that they're utilizing that again in something else because
Yeah.
it's definitely I don't know it's a cool visual.
And along with the powers, there is like traditional weapons as well. We saw a bow a lot in here, which is cool because your bow will have different, like very like Link style, where you get like an exploding arrow, light arrow, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And I don't really know. I feel like they didn't show too many of the weapons, but they did say there would be a few of them. So we'll see
That's
what
cool.
other ones. What did you think about the story and? Okay, so there's a dialogue sequence in this trailer that to me was not very good. I felt like the
Yeah.
dialogue was very corny and very generic. But where are you on that? And it's actually the
I,
scene
I
on screen now. If you're on YouTube, I think there's subtitles, so you can read through it. But
yeah,
I
I
don't know,
felt
not
the
didn't
same
seem like
way.
the cleanest to me.
Yeah, it definitely was like, okay, this is not what I'm going to be here for.
Yeah.
Like while I do think the characters look okay, the world is definitely where this seems to be.
Hmm.
Where it seems to be where its strengths seem to be.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like the visual fidelity in the world is like amazing, and actually the combat is so cool that hopefully there is not a lot of this talking because yeah, it seems a little rough.
Yeah. One thing to highlight too is like we mentioned this that more action heavy than like psychological thriller horror vibes, but there is certain scenes where they showed you kind of going through these environments and then it will quickly flash to like some other variant of that. Like you're walking through what looks like a regular hallway, and then it quickly flashes to like a scary hallway for the lack of better words. And so I like that you may not like what might feel like a safe zone which are always nice to have in these kind of games, might not be like that. You might just always be on your toes if that's done right. So I'm really curious to hear how that part
I
of it
hope
comes
so.
into it, because that alone
I
adds a
love
lot
that.
of horror, just like that
Yeah.
uncertainty of what's around the corner or what is in front of you, if that's truly real. That could be great.
No, I think it gives you constant like false senses of security, and I think that's the best opportunity to like actually like scare someone. That's when a jump scare works the best, right? It's like when you actually feel safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope they lean into that at least a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like they're doing like some crowd control stuff here, which is pretty neat. Like it's locking down all the
Yeah.
enemies in the area, and then he's gonna do some like multi-target spells. Like this, it seems really neat. It seems like creative as hell.
I think I would be picking this up day one if it was on PS4. I mean, maybe there's a part of it too where since this is Bethesda, like when that exclusivity deal's up, this is coming to Game Pass, assuming that they port it over to Xbox. But like this is coming to Game Pass, so I mean, I feel bad maybe waiting for that, but like I don't know. On Deathloop, I was like, I'm gonna play this on my shitty laptop as best as I can on the lowest settings because I need to play this game. But for this game, I feel like I'm not gonna make that sacrifice just to get my hands on it. But it sounds like for you a day one, or are you still waiting
for
to see on
sure
certain things? Or
if they're like, I'm definitely one of those people. I keep an eye out at what people are saying before I spend the money on it. But this one seems like a day one purchase for me. It's definitely like up my alley in a lot of ways. Like a little bit of horror, some weird Japanese stuff. I love it. I'm here for it. Like that's a lot of that is just up my alley a ton. I'm a big weeb, so this is gonna hit for me.
Cool. Well, maybe I'll bring you back on the podcast then if you do pick it up, and we can
happy to
talk about it as well.
For sure.
Let's talk about the next game on our list, Mina the Hollower. So, Shovel Knight, the Shovel Knight developers. Shovel Knight came out a long ass time ago. Like I want to say like 2012 or 13.
A million years ago.
Right? And like
it
since
feels
then,
like a million years ago.
Because I remember playing it on my Wii U. So like obviously it was a long time ago. But in that time, like they've released a lot. Like Shovel Knight has been everywhere. Like they've done all sorts of DLCs for the game with new playable characters. They've done spin-offs.
That side game that came out early late last year.
Yeah, there's what was it called? Dungeon, Pocket Dungeon, I think.
Pocket Dungeon, yeah, that sounds right.
Something like that. And then, I mean, even Shovel Knight appears in Rivals of Aether and other like indie games as like a guest character. He's in Smash as an assist trophy, like huge character.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it just feels like it's been forever since we've seen news about like a new game. So here it is from Yacht Club Games, Mina the Hollower, which is very much a Game Boy era inspired like Zelda game.
Yeah, it looks very like Link's Awakening.
Yeah, with the jump, even has the same.
Yeah, it has the Rock's Feather jump for sure. Yeah, it has a lot of Link's Awakening energy. I love the style. I love it, and it looks fast too, which is like kind of scary.
Right.
Like for a game where there's like spikes everywhere, and like I guess for people who are on listening, it is this like Game Boy, but like more colors than Game Boy clearly, but still has like it's Game Boy sprites, but with like 32 colors, probably something like that.
For sure. I mean, their pixel art is just amazing. Like,
so probably
like there's so many games in that throwback NES style these days, but I feel like so few developers actually get it right, or it looks all right. But yeah, Yacht Club is just amazing. Like their art team is top notch.
Yeah, so I'd say it probably has like a similar color palette to Shovel Knight, while being these like 16:9 sort of, maybe it's even 16:10. It's a weird aspect ratio. The game's in a weird aspect ratio for sure.
You can definitely like count the pixels on your screen if you want to. And
for sure.
The vibe of it, like obviously, very like the gameplay looks very Zelda, but in terms of the style, like it seems, I don't know, I want to say Castlevania, but it's much more colorful and like much more leans into the fantasy element of it. So yeah, it seems like wholly unique to me. And I mean, even the name, like Mina the Hollower, Hollow makes me think of Hollow Knight, makes me think of Dark Souls. I don't know, makes me think that you're going to be like, digging through the earth and whatnot, like a rat kid, because Mina is
a little mouse. She's a little mouse. But she has all these items, these trinkets that she can switch between, like very similar to Legend of Zelda. So it looks like you're going to be able to use all these tools that you get throughout the game. I'm wondering if it's going to be this kind of like big open area, or if it's going to be something more like Hollow Knight, where you're selecting what world you want to be in. Kind of like
I
Mega
feel
Man
like
style.
they're going to go full Zelda style and make it
Yeah.
kind of, pseudo open world where it's like, yeah, you have an intended dungeon to go to, but maybe you can do a couple of them out of order. Or at least I think like Link's Awakening in particular, I think was one where you could do a couple levels in different orders. So I would say I'm really excited for this game. I think this is probably
I am.
day one for me.
For sure.
And no a release date out on here. Actually, with this announcement, they talked about their Kickstarter that they're doing for the game, and that got funded within like a few hours, I think, by like double.
They blew it out of the water.
Yeah, they just destroyed
I wonder
it.
where
And
it's
I
at
don't
now.
think that's a surprise
Now,
in any way.
as
Go
of-
check it out. I'm curious.
As of Monday 2/7, The Hollower. Let's check it out. See how it's doing.
So yeah, it's coming. It's funded, and I mean, based on this trailer, like it seems like a lot of the core game is already there. It's not like here's a teaser or here's the game we want to make. It's like, okay, we actually have made most of this game, and we just need a little bit more funding to push us over the top.
So
what's it at? Because the goal was like 300,000 or something.
Yeah, 311,503 was their goal. They're at 700,000 or 723,207. So they've definitely they've over doubled it now. And it still has 23 days to go. So they're gonna do just fine. This game's coming out.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure.
I was maybe surprised to see the Kickstarter just because to me like Shovel Knight is like one of the biggest indie like names now, and so I mean funding wise I'm sure that they could have made this without the Kickstarter, but I guess it's just to me I kind of like the Kickstarter in theory more than an early access game because to me that just kind of removes my hype. Like Rogue Legacy 2 came out and it's like still in early access, so I'm like, when should I get excited for this game?
I haven't touched it yet. Yeah,
I
literally
with this
haven't
style it's like
still.
it's the same thing where you can buy in early, but I think I like that, when the game does come out, it's like boom, it's coming out, it's on all these platforms, the game is finished, you can play it today, and obviously bug fixes and stuff like that, more content down the line. But I think I like in theory maybe this idea a bit more than doing an early access, because that would just go on my wish list and I'd be sitting on it for a couple of years, whereas this I can actually maybe set a date down on the calendar and get excited for it.
For sure.
Though that date doesn't exist yet.
No, I think the Kickstarter move is cool for the ability for the fans to get involved as well, and like, hey, if they want more features in Mina instead of it just being the bare bones game, they have an opportunity to like hit these goals and potentially or these stretch goals and potentially add some like really, really cool stuff to the game. Like I did that for Bloodstained, which I think is awesome. I love Bloodstained. And I got this like steelbook copy of it and I'm really happy I have it. So yeah, like opportunities for like mega fans to get involved, I think is cool, and just support the developers directly is always awesome.
I think one thing that's usually understated is just like the games like this for a huge indie game like this, or everyone knows Yacht Club games, like people are going to expect this on every platform at launch, and that's not easy to do. That's expensive. That takes a lot of effort to optimize your game on all these platforms. So I think with crushing your goal like this, like I kind of expect this. Well, anyway, I'd have expected it to come out on every platform, but now hopefully they can do that at launch. Like, hey, you can play your PlayStation, PC, Xbox, or your Switch on day one, and that would be pretty exciting, or your Steam Deck. Whatever you want to do at launch, and hopefully that can be the case too, because I think I'd pick this up on Switch. But usually things like that, like Switch, it's going to come out a few months from now, a year from now, and sometimes sometimes you end up waiting, sometimes you don't. So hopefully we can get all the platforms at launch.
I hope so.
All right, let's take another ad break. We'll come back and we'll talk about some of the games we've been playing, some January stuff, so some recent games, some Game Pass things. So yeah, let's take a quick break. We will be right back. Dante, we are back, and I was happy to see the list of games you've been playing, because 3 of them lined up the ones I've been playing. So, and it's not too shocking because 3 of these games came out on Xbox Game Pass in January. The one I want to talk about first is Windjammers 2.
Yeah.
Holy shit! I never played the first one.
Oh,
really? I thought it looked fun. But
like
oh my god, I love this game so much.
I like Windjammers a lot.
I challenge you right now. Like, we gotta play this game, because I like. There's so much, even in like the instructions, man. There's so many combos and things I'm not doing yet. But I just like downloaded this game on a whim, and I was just like addicted. Like, it's so good.
The original Windjammers is already a blast, and there was just so many jokes on the internet about people just like make Windjammers 2, make Windjammers 2, make Windjammers 2, and it got willed into existence, and I'm happy it did, because it rocks. It's so stupid. I love it though. It's just like serious frisbee.
Yeah, it really, it's very arcade game style in that, you load on the map and you can like go fight your different bosses in whatever order you want. And when you lose, you start from scratch. You're building up your career. And then obviously, like, there's online multiplayer or
I've only played multiplayer so far, so I didn't touch the single player at all. So that's news
I waited
to me.
before going into multiplayer because I was like, I haven't played the first one. I gotta get the hang of this. And like when I first went into the single player, I was getting crushed. So I'm like, okay, I need to train up a bit. But I've played a bit now, and there's still a lot more depth to it. And then the style is just very like radical 80s.
Yeah.
You know,
Super,
you're just like beach volleyball aesthetic, like definitely in that territory.
Neon Windbreaker is like for sure the aesthetic.
Definitely. I love it. It's just I guess if someone hasn't played it before, I don't have a video loaded up here, but essentially it's picture I guess a tennis court, and you're whipping frisbees at each other. You're trying to get them to hit the back row, get some points, or if you can get it to land on the ground without your opponent catching it, then you get some points that way as well. And then as you go through, like they add the points move around. There's like blockers on the map, things like that. I'm sure there's more as well, but just like that core gameplay is great because really it's like if you can move around and hit one button, you can play the game, but then there is so much depth that is layered on over top of it if you get into it. And certain characters in the single player, it's like, okay, this guy's really slow, I can cheese him with this move. And learning the different characters' abilities that all go in these crazy patterns. I'm in love with this game. It's so cool.
It's like an arcade tennis game meets Pong, but I guess that's what Pong is supposed to be initially. Anyway. So it's supposed to be kind of like
Pong
tennis
with just like 100 layers over top.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're popping the disc up into the air, so you can do like spikes. You can like use your character's special move, which does all types of crazy like different speeds or different like directional attacks. And then you have a slide, so you can like slide in to catch the disc at any point that you want to. Like the maneuverability in it is pretty neat, that like you can just like you feel like you can get to the disc at any time.
I gotta play the fast characters though. I don't know about you. Do you have like a go-to character?
I definitely, there's like the boy that is like super quick. I don't remember any of their names, but I did try out some of the heavy characters a couple times, and I was like just playing with my friend. I was kicking his ass with a big dude, which was kind of interesting. And it was just, I think it was more like he just didn't know how to handle like some of like the power hits, because he does throw much faster than the other characters, but then he can't get to the disc as quickly. So it's like definitely a risk reward, but I liked him a lot, honestly.
Who was I playing? I have
I have to look at the characters.
H Mito was her name, was the one I was playing. She's like just fast enough, but she's still got some power behind her. But yeah, I mean they're all kind of it's not like there's really much backstory for these characters, or maybe there is and I don't know about it. But it's really just like pick the one that you think looks the coolest, and hopefully you enjoy playing as them.
Yeah, I played as the guy in the top left character. I don't really know what his name is. Okay. I don't know if it's easier for you to figure that out, but it's just like the young kid who's like really fast, and then I played as the bottom left guy who's just like huge. Right. He's like the definitely the
he
like
looks like a final boss
or something.
Or maybe not a final boss, but like World 1 or 2 boss.
Right? Yeah. He's definitely a lackey. I wouldn't give him big boss energy just yet.
He's just got more HP. We got to play that. But the other game that, we got to play this one together too is Rainbow Six Quarantine. So after delays, name change, now it's on Game Pass. It's out in January. How are you liking this game? Have you played? How familiar with you Rainbow Six? And then what do you think of this one?
So I've never played any Siege. I was very intimidated by it. To be honest with you, like when it comes to competitive shooters, I like to respawn so I can make mistakes, and I feel like whenever I'm playing a team-based game and I can't respawn, I feel like a gigantic tool. I'm on tilt halfway through a match of any first-person shooter ever, and then I wreck shit in the latter half. That's my go-to. It's always been my go-to.
I like that Halo playlist they've been putting out there, where you have like only a set amount of lives for a team.
Yeah,
I really like that one. That works.
Yeah. Well, that was one that was in 5, I think. Okay. And I actually liked it a lot. Like it was like their competitive mode in 5, and I actually thought it was like super fun, even though people don't like that game. Quarantine, I think it's cool. I feel like it's like a really kind of like neat idea to take the Rainbow Six like mechanics and move them into kind of like a Left 4 Dead like. there's a lot of risk reward in this game that's not in the Left 4 Dead games or the Left 4 Dead type games where you're like have to just get to the end of the level. This is more like you have objectives and you want to finish those objectives to like level your characters up. I think it's kind of cool also that like if you take a bunch of damage during the fight, like those operatives, is that what they call them? They kind of just lose their ability to move on into the next fight because they lost enough health.
And then that becomes like an
cool.
optional objective that can come up later where you can go and save your character. I think that's super cool.
Yeah,
because like you're kind of playing these, you're picking a location, and I think there's only 4 of them, and then each location I think maybe has a couple separate, like maybe a daytime and nighttime variant or something like that. And then each time you load in, you are going to spawn maybe in a different spot, and then you're going to have a new set of random objectives. So I will say, like, from the amount I've played, which is, not too much, like maybe 3 hours so far.
Yeah, probably about the same.
Like playing the same level over and over again does not get tiring because of that variety. And also the way the difficulty ramps up between these objectives.
It's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Like we tried, I think we were playing on like normal difficulty or the easy difficulty.
It's hard.
And then we switched up one and we got like destroyed.
Yeah.
Like I was like, all right, all my operatives are dead, or like that whole operative's dead. Like I have to wait for them to I don't think I'm saying that's what they're called, but whatever.
It's been like 2 or 3 weeks since I've played, so I'm forgetting like the terminology as well.
Yeah. But anyway, I do find that game might be a little too slow for me. It might be a little too methodical. And that's like totally personal. Like same reason why I get really frustrated when I'm playing like Counter-Strike or Valorant. Like it's the same problem for me where I just feel like I can't be stupid. And I like that.
Yeah, sometimes like sitting there watching one corner for 1.5 minutes is like the longest 1.5 minutes ever. So I definitely as I've played a lot of Counter-Strike, so I can definitely understand that tedium sometimes of just looking at one wall.
I'm a Quake boy. I like shooting guns and like just moving.
I will say, like, I'm really loving this game. Like
it's cool.
I've played, I forget which Rainbow Six I played. Some game on the 360. Haven't played Siege, which is the big one. I don't know. It was probably Vegas, honestly.
Oh, maybe.
Well, I don't know. It was
Lockdown's for the original Xbox. Lockdown's for the original Xbox. My bad.
Yeah, I played one on the 360. I think it was just a game I rented. Like I didn't really put all the hours into it, but I really liked this game from what I've played, and I definitely want to play more. And now that I know you're playing it, we should definitely get in there because I was playing with a 2-man squad, and it was hard, and I felt like it's intended for a 3-man squad, and I felt like playing it with a 2-man squad was playing a lesser version of the game in a way. It was very difficult as well, and I just felt like I'm not playing it quite how it's intended, but I really enjoyed it. One thing I love is the creep spread, like very StarCraft style, where the enemy like goo is slowly spreading across the ground, and then you're slowed in it, and you can kind of shoot it away, which is really satisfying. I think so.
They can detect you. And you can shoot it and it'll sprawl away, which is kind of neat. Like it's
and
like
in real time, like that just is really satisfying to look at.
You have to be very careful about using like silenced weapons versus going in loud. Like it's a very methodically paced one of those like Left 4 Dead style games, which I think is it's a very different pace for something like that, which I think is pretty neat. It almost reminds me more of like Payday or trying to think of another game like
what it kind of reminds me of is the multiplayer in Ghost of Tsushima, in Ghost of Tsushima Legends.
Still haven't played it.
Yeah, it's really fun. If you do want to play, get back into it, let me know because I'd be happy to play again. But yeah, like just doing the kind of or you don't have to play them as stealth missions, but going through there and like lining up with your buddy, like okay, like jumping on 3, and then you both go down, assassinate guy at the same time. Like that to me is really satisfying. I like that simple tactical gameplay, and I think I like it here. In this game because playing like a traditional Rainbow Six game and doing that in multiplayer, maybe that could be like stressful or frustrating, it can be stressful in this game as well, but just going through it and like fighting these enemies, these NPCs felt good. And it's definitely a game I want to come back to. It's just not one I'm going to play on my own and not one I'm going to want to queue randomly online. So I just haven't played as much as I'd like to, but definitely one that I will be happy to come back to. And I'm really glad they put it on Game Pass because otherwise I definitely would have just skipped it. Wouldn't have paid full price, and now I'm like super into it, and I hope it stays on Game Pass for a while.
Yeah, I got a few people who would be willing to be a third.
Let's do it.
For sure.
And The third game that we've both played is Nobody Saves the World. So why
Oh,
don't
you played that too? I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's exciting.
I've played. I only played like one session. I played like probably 2 hours. But what do you think of this game? And or I guess
I
quick breakdown. What is it? What is the game?
Yeah.
And then what do you think?
So Nobody Saves the World is a top-down kind of Zelda-like as well. So you have this big open map, and you are this little guy. I don't even know how to explain him outside of just being this little guy. And he gets his hand on a wand, and that wand allows him to transform into like a dozen different creatures that have specific strengths and weaknesses. And the really cool part is they gain these skills, and you can switch to any of the different forms and add skills from other forms. So you end up being able to create like a build very specific to that character. So like the horse has, or something, bear with me because I'm probably making this up. I was like, well, the horse gets like more impact damage, so I'm gonna put the increased impact damage on the bodybuilder, and the bodybuilder is going to be able to like punch into walls and do more damage from punching into walls. And you have a lot of like kind of like working off of other characters' strengths and to get rid of weaknesses. And then you're just going through different like towers and dungeons and clearing them out. It's very combat heavy. While you're finishing like specific character quests. So each one of the forms have their own lists of quests that you want to kind of work through, and you're just killing stuff in the world.
How much
it's
have
kind
you
of
played?
Fun.
Like,
15 hours.
Oh, okay, that's quite a bit.
10 hours, something like that.
And I guess you haven't beaten it yet. Do you plan
Close.
on like going to the end with it, or is it game that you kind of complete and then you go do other bonus stuff?
I'm probably gonna beat it.
Okay.
I couldn't see myself 100%ing this game. Actually,
Nice.
it's just it does such a good job of like giving you so many different carrots on a stick that it's like kind of fun to just go and finish all of the quests that they throw at you. The quests are so easy to complete most of the time that it's just like, all right, what's one more? What's one more? And it ends up being that game a lot where like every time I've picked it up, I've been like, oh shit, like 2 hours have passed and I only meant to play it for like 30 minutes or something like that, just because I was just like, oh, I can just go over here and do this real quick, or I'll do this real quick, and then it's 3 a.m. I'm like, I really should have went to sleep. So I was surprised by that. It kind of like took me by surprise altogether how much I actually enjoyed it. I thought I was just going to pick it up and play it for a couple minutes and be like, all right, that is what it is. But I'm a big fan of Drinkbox. Like I like Guacamelee. I like both Guacamelees a lot. I think those games are awesome. Severed is also really cool. If anybody's gotten an opportunity to play Severed, that was like a PSP game. They ended up putting it on phones. Cool. Another awesome game by them. So they have a pretty serious track record going so far that I was like willing to give them a shot with whatever they did. And it seems like another great game. It's just fun. Like it felt like a perfect palate cleanser before all these like big games came out. That I was just like a fun kind of action game that I could just turn my brain off during.
Yeah, and I mean the Game Pass element of it makes it easy to hop
super
in.
Easy once again.
Yeah, I have to say, like it just didn't really do it for me. I think one thing is I really don't like the art style. Like I think the lighting's good actually, but I am not a fan. Even in Guacamelee, it's kind of been a turnoff for me. Is I'm just
that's the Drinkbox thing.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
not like a quality thing. It's not like, oh, this is bad art. It's just not my style. It just doesn't get me going. And I don't know, the gameplay just didn't feel like super fluid to me. And I had fun for like that one session, but I don't think this is one I'm going to be revisiting. And it's too bad because I played a session for 2 hours or so, and then I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about it, and they were like, oh yeah, you can like you just explained, like you can combine powers from different classes, and I hadn't encountered that yet. And so I was like, man, that sounds really cool, but now that I know that's a thing, I'm like, I guess that surprise is kind of deflated. I don't know. I always feel like I spoiled myself on it by hearing that, and I was kind of like less interested after that, which is probably a bad justification. But I think I just wasn't loving it anyway, so I
don't think it'll be for everyone. It's definitely like pretty it's pretty specific, and like if you don't like what it's doing, you probably won't like what it's doing for the rest of the game. But I do think it ends up being getting interesting when you start combining powers essentially and combining move sets to create characters that are like unique to whatever situation you want to go into. I think that's where it really shines, and that's something that it seems like you hadn't even gotten to yet. But like once again, if the combat itself isn't necessarily like interesting to you in any way, I can definitely see it being something you bounce off of. I think in the first hour or so, I was like still unsure about it, and then like at about the 5-hour mark, I was like, okay, I'm in. This game is actually like got its hooks in me a little bit.
I think if February wasn't so insanely
crazy.
crazy for games, I would probably sit down and play it again. But I think at this rate, I think I've passed by it.
I think if it didn't come out when it did, where I was like really looking for something to play, I definitely had a little lull, and I, as you heard previously, kind of bounced off of Pokemon a little bit. I was like, I need something. And that game scratched an itch that I was not expecting it to.
Yeah. Well, it's on Game Pass, so everyone should check it out. I know we've both also been playing Sifu. I don't want to talk about it because that's our topic for next week. Dante, I just want you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that's it.
The thumb is up.
That's a thumbs up.
I'll give you 2 maybe.
I don't know where I am. I just right before this podcast I was playing more, and I think it changed my thumbs down to like almost a thumbs up. That's all I'm gonna say for now. We'll come back next week and we'll talk about it more. And then I kind of been bouncing around stuff in January. Like I've been playing Thomas is Alone, which is a really fun platformer.
Throwback.
It's a cool game. I started up a run of Fallout 3. I kind of have this thing in the back of my head where I'm like always wanting to play a Bethesda game. I like for all the flack that Bethesda Game Studios gets, I just love their open worlds. Like they're just my favorite open worlds. They're like my favorite genre of thing. And I haven't played Fallout 3 in a while, so I'm like, it was just fun to stomp around the wasteland. And I think now that February is here, I'm like, that's going back on the shelf. But I think I'm going to continue that. It's been really fun. And still playing through Golden Sun, so that's what I've been jamming lately.
I thought you weren't liking it.
I have issues with it, but I do enjoy the game.
Okay, cool.
But it's just like it's on my DS. And it just sits next to my bed, and I just kind of play for 10-15 minutes here or there. And
fair.
For that's kind of been my experience with it. Maybe when I'm done, I'll want to do like a big podcast on it. But for now, I'll leave it at that. But what are the other games you've been playing here?
I picked up the Monster Hunter Rise PC port, which rocks. It's such a good port. I was actually like blown away at how good it is. It makes that game look like I can't imagine it coming out on Switch. Like blows my mind that was a Switch game.
Just like the graphical fidelity of it, like the performance.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It runs amazingly. Like I think I have it running at 165 hertz.
Beautiful.
So it's running at like 165 frames per second. It is there's tons and tons and tons of graphical options. Like it's pretty. It's like actually a pretty game now. Where it was actually a pretty game on the Switch too, which I was always surprised by. But like this shows that how scalable that RE engine is. Like it is so good. It's so good. They really knocked it out with that. So that's just like an excellent port. If you like Monster Hunter, it's definitely worth picking up on PC. And it's also caught up now. So when Sunbreaker comes out in the summer, it'll be day and date with the Switch.
Oh, cool.
Which is why I switched over. No pun intended.
Yeah. Do you feel like was that a hard decision to make, to throw away your progress, or does your progress?
Oh yeah, I played that game for like over 100 hours.
I know, right?
Starting
over. Okay, so you can't carry your progress over. Hey, you just
no, you start from scratch. But
this is not the first time I've done that. Or are you just like going through
try new weapons, or you just go through? I don't know. I find that game to be so fun at its bare base level that I could play that game at level 1 over and over and over again and be fine. Level 1, there's not levels in that game, but at Hunter rank 1 and be fine. So I played that a good little bit, just trying to catch back up to my save. And then I talked about this. My first podcast on I talked about how I just started playing Disco Elysium, and now I finally have finished Disco Elysium. I actually started it over again pretty recently, just because I had walked away from it for too long. And
with what was it called? The
Definitive Edition, which has like full voice acting, and which is the voice acting's done by the main singer of Sicketh, which is like an amazing like progressive metal band. Sikth. They're amazing, but their main vocalist is so particular, and his voice is just all over that game, and he's such a talent. He's like, I can't wait to hear him do voiceovers in like a million other games from this point forward. Disco Elysium is everything that everyone said it was. It just took me forever. It just took me forever to get through it. It's genius. It's some of the best writing in a video game ever. And incredibly depressing while also being hilarious. Like it is just, it does everything that I could possibly want out of a game. It does everything right that it could in a CRPG without like, especially a CRPG without combat. Yeah, it rocks. I don't want to go too far into it because I'll just sit here and gush about Disco Elysium.
That's definitely on my backlog, and yeah, I don't know when I'll get to it at this point, but that game seems amazing. So
I just heard it is not worth picking up on Switch. That is my one.
Yeah.
It is a game that I really liked save scumming in. And apparently the load times are pretty rough. So like if you have any interest in kind of like reloading a save ever, it's apparently pretty brutal.
Right. Yeah, I think I'd probably get that on PC. Would be
it feels like a PC game to me. You can just play it with just mouse too, which is nice. I love a game where you can just like literally just use the mouse. You don't have to touch your keyboard, so you can really like lounge back and just click clack.
I like that. Any other games that you've been playing you want to talk about?
I would love to talk about Sifu, but you told me no.
I know.
No, I'm kidding.
I can't spoil next week's episode.
Just messing with you.
I gotta give Kirkland his due.
No worries.
Yeah. I'll get you to type me out like your paragraph review, and I'll read that on the episode or
cool
if you want.
All right.
Or you can record something and then you send it to me, and I'll put it in the episode if you want. Up to you.
We'll see.
But no, I think with Geekverse Side Quest being a weekly thing, I want to keep these episodes like shorter-ish in general, just because it's going to happen every week. So it feels weird to end this early. Like for me and you, this is like we're just getting started. Like we're barely talking about our first topic, and here we are. We're at the end. But I think like I said, I'll have you on a lot more often. I know there's a lot of games that you're excited for that I really want to have you on to talk about. So you guys will see Dante very soon. What were those socials again? Let's plug those one more time.
At DinAcolyte on Twitter and twitch.tv/AdventOblivion.
Amazing.
Both of which are like, as you see my name on the screen, they're both anagrams. I've got to type.
Right. Well, not enough anagrams in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I got to figure out an anagram.
Do it. It's time.
Something. I don't know. I don't even know of what. I just got to figure one out. So once again, Sifu is the topic next week. If anyone has any questions, thoughts, topics, whatever, send that to me. Wherever you want. The YouTube, in our Discord, send it to me on Twitter. Wherever you send it, I'll find it, and you can put it. You know what you can do? Put it in the iTunes 5-star review, and then I'll see it from there, and then I can put it in the episode. Join our Discord; it's a fun place over there. Check out Geekverse Patreon for episodes early and ad-free, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And thank you to Amanda for the amazing music. Here it is. And thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.